On 16th Street in San Francisco, there's a bar called the Kilowatt. This is where I drink on Sunday mornings with the boys. Oh yeah, I say it here before that I used to have a different bar for every day of the week, so I didn't look like some loser who came to the bar every day. So yeah, the Kilowatt was my Sunday bar. Anyway, we watch football and drink like men. Andy, the bartender, made me bourbon and cokes in pint glasses. From 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., we watched the brutal ballet that is the National Football League. Outside, Rob grilled the meat, and we were all bonding. Many were the Sunday afternoons when I would bid farewell to the boys and stagger off to the BART station and make my way home to catch HBO's Sunday night lineup with a nightcap of bourbon. All in all, a good day indeed, spent drinking well over a quart of whiskey. I thought if I quit drinking, I'd let everyone down. They'd miss me. The bar wouldn't be the same without one of the boys, would it? I was the literary one of the bar. I imagined myself to be the Frasier of the 16th Street Cheers. I was the hard-drinking, underappreciated in his own time writer whose published book had unfortunately been ahead of its time. There was no way I could let them see me in the bar during football without a drink. It'd be like watching Barry Bonds limp after a pop fly in his later years, or watching a boxer past his prime step into the ring, or listening to the Aerosmith album they did right after they quit doing cocaine. It wouldn't be right. Luckily for me, I got sober in February as the Super Bowl was wrapping up the NFL postseason. I approached the bartender, Andy. I'm thinking about getting sober. That's a great idea, he said without hesitation. When your bartender really wants you to quit, it's time. Further than that, if you don't know who the worst drunk in your favorite bar is, it's you. When you quit, someone else becomes the worst drunk in the bar. They've all been comparing themselves to you, saying, at least I'm not that guy. And then let's skip forward a little bit. That fall, I returned to the Kilowatt with about half a year sober. Andy poured me a root beer, and I handed him some poems I'd written since he'd seen me last. What are you reading? One of the boys asked. Some of Bucky's new shit, Andy told him. Who's Bucky? This guy, Andy said. He looked right at me. No recognition whatsoever. Nice to meet you, he said. It hit me. He didn't know me. I looked around at the bar at the rest of my old friends. There was Panama Hat, guy who drinks Corona with lime, Redskins fan with ponytail. I didn't know these guys. They didn't know me. And they weren't my friends at all. They're random jerks at the bar. And I was a more random jerk from off the street. So like Patrick said, I was reading poems in this as part of Noise Pop, and they're like, we want to have this sex, drugs, and rock and roll themed like event, and we want you to do the drugs part. I'm like, oh, great. All right. So I was doing that, and like I had this thing because I write about all that. People like bring me drinks and stuff like that or whatever, and so I just said, hey, you guys, I quit drinking, I quit doing all the drugs, so don't try to smoke me out after the show, and especially don't get pissed off when I refuse, and all that kind of stuff. And then one of the editors from Red Real Wiser was at the show, and she came up and said, why don't you write a book? And I was like, fuck no. And she was like, why not? It's because, I really don't understand any of that stuff. I'm an atheist, and I don't get all the self-help stuff, and it's about energy and stuff I don't get. And she's like, well, that's the kind of, that's who needs books? People like you. I'm like, yeah, we do, don't we? So I tried to write this one, and like both of these, I am very pro 12-step. It just took me a long time to wrap my head around it, and so it's kind of a lot of that stuff. This one had a lot of stuff to do, a lot of stuff about art and being creative and stuff, and still like, because people think like, oh, what happens, if you quit drinking or if you quit getting stoned, like you can't create anymore, and like things like that, or like look at all the great writers when they got like all the great bands get sober and then they suck, and then like. And what about like Bukowski, and what about Hunter S. Thompson, and like they're awesome because of drugs, and it's like, well, you have to deal with all that as a writer, and it's kind of so I'm going to read a little bit about that. This section is called the artist, the hot stove toucher. There's a lengthy correlation between brilliant artists and drug use. All of my artistic heroes were addicts of some kind at varying levels. The drugs and alcohol that consume change, but the addiction never does. Rimbaud, Edgar Allan Poe, Charles Baudelaire, Charles Bukowski, Henry Thompson, William S. Burroughs, Jim Carroll, Philip K. Dick. Those are just the writers. I've had to get into filmmakers, musicians, actors, and painters. I need another book for all of them. They relate their productivity to drug use and say it helped, but did it? The same qualities that make a person a great artist also makes him or her a likely addict. This personality takes no rules as a given truth and looks at the world from a fresh perspective. This personality type I like to call the hot stove toucher. Most people who touch a hot stove will immediately learn not to touch it, but other personalities will touch it more. How long can I stand to touch it? What does burning feel like? Boy, it feels good when I stop touching it. What does burning fingers smell like? What if I try the other hand? Applied to the art world, this personality innovates new usage of technique and content. The painter uses color and form in a new way. A filmmaker shoots from new angles. A writer explores new narrative styles. Most of the creative types we studied in college broke or bent rules in spite of popular opinion, and often to the point of career destruction. Applied to drugs, this personality immediately damages itself. Crack is addictive? Give me some. This could kill me, but what if I take just enough so it won't? And how much is just enough? Give me some. If I drink too much of this, I'll puke. Give me some. Furthermore, if it doesn't learn, but it tries again. This time I won't drink so much. This time I won't mix the two drugs. This time I won't shoot it. I'll just smoke it. This personality thrives on danger and risk. Skip forward a little bit. Every year in school, some guy came around for Drug and Alcohol Awareness Week telling his tales of getting loaded and becoming an addict. A similar guy came around every year to church youth rallies. There was a whole industry of guys who used to be drug addicts but now talk to kids. The problem is I never really listened to the full message, only what I wanted to hear. What I heard was, go this far and no further, rather than don't go there at all. The guys' lives always sounded pretty cool in the beginning. They were a Kiss roadie or a Miami disco king or the leader of a biker gang. And the middle of the story is when I went too far, and then someone dies or gets maimed and the guy goes to jail for it, where he finds Jesus and then gets out and comes out and talks to us. Inadvertently, they always sold the lifestyle. They always talk about awesome hot rods, money, and girls. The only thing that stopped me at this point was the idea that God didn't like it when I got high or did drugs, but when I lost my faith, there was no God to be upset. Yeah, so, and then it goes on and on. But, yeah, there's a lot of that in there, like just a lot of this thing. And, yeah, it was always, you know, those guys would always come around. I grew up a complete, like, conservative fundamentalist, and then that wasn't enough for our family. All this, you know, sleep and possessions bullshit. So we joined a cult, and then we're in that for a while, and that sucked too. And but yeah, it was always these guys going like, "Yeah, man, it may sound cool, like you know, you're traveling with Kiss, and you know, you're getting high every day, and there's different girls every night, and you know that gets old pretty quick." I'm like, "Wait, what? Like, girls will talk to me if I what? Huh? Okay." And so yeah, so okay, there. Yeah, this is more like only artist stuff. It's self-image in the artist. I want to switch to the other book. I kind of like just fucking. I went to a poetry reading in like 1987, and I was like hooked. And it was like poetry then. It wasn't like there's like actually good-looking people with lives now doing like spoken word stuff and poetry slams and stuff. But then it was just all like fucking madmen and idiots. It was great, and I was like, this is the most. Like I had been going to punk shows, but I was like, this is like way more radical than any punk show I've been to. These people are insane. I need to be here. These are my people. I had this image of myself as this subcultural underground literary hero. I had been part of a really awesome street poetry scene that people still ask me about today. But as time went on, it was this image that dragged me around and ruined my life. I pictured myself with a bottle of whiskey in one hand and a book of my poems in the other. I was a middle finger in the hand of American literature. I was the Iggy Pop to the Dan Fogelbergs of academia. I was a tough guy poet, a Bukowski with steel-toed Doc Martens. One of the ways this image got me in trouble is how it promoted my drug and alcohol use. There was a lot of times that I rationalized extreme behavior with keeping with my extreme poetry lifestyle. Truth was, I wanted to do all those drugs and drink all that booze, but I would convince myself that was to gain experience or perspective in my quest to be the next Hunter S. Thompson or whoever. So, yeah, that was a lot of Get Up was about that, and move over to Still Standing. We had to do follow-up, but basically, like, people kept writing me emails about, like, I'm gonna have her. Jesus. People kept writing me emails like, hey, what about this and that, and what about do you pray? Like, what's going on? I'm like, okay, guess there's another book. So there's, and also, like, I asked all these people for the first book, it's like, what did you need to know your first year of sobriety? And I was mostly, like, looking for, like, stuff about steps and sponsors and stuff, and people were saying, like, oh, I was 31, I didn't know how to use a washing machine. And a lot of women said, tell all the guys who read your book not to piss in bottles anymore. I'm like, really? No, yeah, big problem. So there's a lot of life skill stuff in this one. I'll just do one of the life skill things now. There's like 7 habits of highly normal people that have just things like, you know, have a bank account. Stop using trash bags for curtains, that kind of thing. And then there's also this one. There's 13 things every addict should stop doing. I'm gonna read one just about it's got, oh yeah, there's, like, you know, stop living in a van. There's one on cursing that I kind of like. I would love nothing more than to converse only in George Carlin's 7 words you can't say on television. Even as a well-read man, my favorite word is fuck. It's good as every part of speech in the vernacular. It can express a grand multitude of meanings and be used in all kinds of situations. It was, at times, the only word I could still say through a drug haze. In my opinion, it's the best word in the English language for its versatility, simplicity, and understandability. Fuck is our aloha. If you're Hawaiian and you have both of these words at your disposal, I don't think you need any other words. The problem with the word, however, is that it's not socially acceptable in a lot of situations. It offends a lot of people. Sometimes they stop listening to what you're saying because they're so shocked that it's falling easily out of your mouth. Believe it or not, some people never say the word. And when they have to quote it, they either whisper it or mouth the word to the other person. The people refer to it as the F-bomb and the F-word because they don't really want to say it. For those of us who spend a lot of time in bars around tweaked-out drug scenes or have done time in penal institutions, we've lost the concept that it's anything but superhero-style pronoun that can be used in the place of any other word that can't surface in our brains at the moment. Consider this conversation. Dude, how the fuck are you? Pretty fucking good. How about yourself? Fucking A, can't complain. You'll never get to see the fuck I ran into the other fucking day. Oh, fuck me, I just lost his fucking name. It's falling on my fucking head right now. Oh, I fucking hate that fucking shit. I swear I only killed the brain cells that remembers people's names and where my fucking keys are. Normal conversation, right? Wrong. That's normal for us, not for the rest of the world. Amongst ourselves, fuck it. Say whatever the fuck you want. But in the rest of the world, watch your fucking mouth. Basically, don't ever say to anyone you don't know personally or that you run into in the course of your day, either face-to-face or on the phone. Here are the prime people you should never say the word fuck around, and times you should never ever utter the word. Policemen and other authority figures, during job interviews, while talking to customer service reps on the phone. I still have problems with that one. Retail staff employees, and within earshot of people's children. So there's just like a lot of life skills stuff in there about how to go on a job interview sober. Like, that is the scariest thing I've ever done, job interview. Like, I've been in, like, I'm good in a bar fight. Like, I'm totally fine. But, you know, you want to come down here and tell the truth about yourself? No, I'm mortified. If they told me to come down there and fight them for the job, I would have done it. It would have been no problem. Yeah. Be ready, motherfucker. I'm coming. It's just that thing, you know, growing up in a bar, basically. Anyway, okay, I'm going to close this one real short part here, and then I have books for sale. Really, I have a lot of books. I was standing in line with a fellow 12-stepper in a supermarket. This homeless guy gets arrested for shoplifting a bottle of vodka in his pants. Being alkies, we're fixated on the detail that it was Royal Gate vodka, the cheapest swill to carry in the store. Being alkies with a few years sober, we consider ourselves armchair psychologists. Look at that guy, my friend said to me. Poor guy's self-esteem is so low he doesn't think he deserves to steal anything better. No, I don't think so, I countered. He's been drinking that swill for so long he has some kind of emotional loyalty to it. He actually wants that more than anything else. Hey man, my friend yelled out to the guy being searched by a security guard. Out of all the liquor in the store, why'd you steal the Royal Gate? The guy looks at us like we're nuts. Because it was on sale.